national religion of our country, football. And today is the only day, I believe. I thought I saw some games scheduled for Tuesday, like in the MAC or Sun something or A American. I don't know, but that's blasphemy. That is sacrilegious, and we need to have our day of rest. So please do not schedule games on Sundays for all of us. We need a break. We need a respite. We need to catch our breath. Okay, there we go. Had it done. Now let's move on. Some crazy stuff we got going on in sports. Of course, we have some NFL news. We have football news. We got all kinds of news. We're going to start off the show with some hot headlines coming at you right now. Okay, that's how hot they are. Whew! We needed a moment. All right, the college football rankings, playoff rankings, come out tonight, and we're going to kind of get into that a little bit. It's wonky. It's still full of intrigue. So many things could still happen, and we don't know which one. I mean, there's just all these crazy scenarios that they're insanely crazy scenarios going around, and a lot of it's about tiebreakers in your conference. It's about teams who are still going to play each other. What does it all mean? I don't know, but we'll talk through it here in a minute. But there's a couple of things that I thought were quite fascinating, and I think deserving of hot headlines today. I'm going to start off with this one. James Franklin actually signed a 3-year deal to go to Virginia Tech. And I think the thing maybe that's most surprising to me is, man, James Franklin did not let the paint dry. He was not waiting around to go get a new job. This season's not even over. It's not even close to being over. I mean, we haven't even got into conference championships or playoffs or anything. And James Franklin decided to go to Virginia Tech. Now, Virginia Tech's interesting, and it's an interesting place for him to go. He's been a couple of places that were, how do you say, kind of, um, maybe at one time, like there was nothing better than Beamer ball, and Virginia Tech was a juggernaut. They're in the ACC. They've kind of been down, and he might be the guy to bring him back. I think he kind of likes this. There's certain coaches where they just like the rebuild process. They like to go into, a place that's kind of down, but a place that isn't always been down. And I think that might be the key. And the key is that the people there care. They care at Penn State. They care at Virginia Tech. I don't know how much they care at Vanderbilt, but regardless, it's kind of his mo, and to go to a caring place that's kind of been down for a while, and not a bad move. The whole intrigue now, I think, with things is how NIL works out. Do you have the budget? Is there money in the coffers? Because if there is, you can switch the flip the script quite quickly in these programs. And I don't know what the financial where means or wherewithal that Virginia Tech has. I do know they have a program that they've liked in the past, and I think the ACC is certainly a place. It's like buy low and sell high kind of thing, and Virginia Tech, the ACC is kind of at a low, and I was going to say a lull. Either one, they're kind of they're it's the right time, and I think it's a pretty good move. He may have had a requirement with his deal, like if he wasn't actively pursuing a job or whatever, because he's owed a lot of money. That's now offset by whatever money he's going to get at Virginia Tech, which in some regards probably helps these schools because look, he's getting a lot of money regardless, and maybe it's less money, which actually allows him to go get good assistance to really help it would be an interesting thing to hear from a coach. You know, when you're owed money from an old job, you take a new job. A lot of the contracts have it in that, you know, that now the buyout's less. And then the coach goes, well, I'm getting less or I'm getting more from this school, so I can get less from you. And I don't know if that happens or not, or just some coaches are just greedy. I know I know a long-standing story with the Miami Dolphins when Coach Shula was there. He was given, I think he was given. Now this is, you know, in the 1970s. He was given $20,000 for bonuses for his coaches, and he took 20. Or no, I'm sorry, he took 10, and between the rest of all of his coaches, I think he gave each one $1,000. But he took the majority of the money, which is interesting. But you know, some coaches, they want it all, and or there's some coaches that have some benevolence. I'm not sure where James Franklin is on that. Now, here's another hot headline, and this is fascinating for a lot of reasons, and it's fascinating. Well, so Lane Kiffin apparently has until the 28th of November to decide if he's going to stay at Ole Miss or he's going to leave. So they all know that he potentially could be looking for things, but it's been reported, and this is the interesting part, it's that it's been reported that members of his family have taken recruiting trips to Baton Rouge and Gainesville. Now, when I read this, it's like, why am I reading this? Why should I be reading this? Why are they letting people know that the Kiffin family is off doing all this? Like he wanted people to know. Lane Kiffin wanted people to know. And I'm sure it all has to do with, how do I leverage myself into the best situation? And maybe there's this, you know, maybe I like it at Ole Miss. Maybe I don't think it's really better at LSU or better at Florida. The reality, a lot of history tells you, no, it's better at LSU. It's better at Florida. Now, along with better comes a lot of responsibility and a lot of pressure. And Lane Kiffin's been at those schools. You know, he's been at USC. He's been at Tennessee. He needs to go to a C school. USC, Tennessee, LSU, Florida. They don't match. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they don't fit the profile. Anyways, the thing that I found peculiar about this, not that it was happening, but that we know about it. Why should we know about it? Who cares? Like, we shouldn't know this stuff. And someone out there leaked it, and they leaked it for whether it's about, oh shoot, man, Gainesy's going to LSU, and LSU's like, no, he's going to Gainesville, and then Ole Miss is like, he's going somewhere, and we don't want, and so he's trying to create this leverage, this frenzy, because it's frenzied in the SEC football, and they don't want the other folks to get up on them, so they're like, you know, we're going to pay the piper here. We're going to do whatever we have to do to get our guy Lane Kiffin here, going, and we want him. But whoever gets him is going to pay a pretty penny. Now, and you can't fault anyone for this, including Lane Kiffin. But I thought it was fascinating that it was publicly out there. Like who cares? Oh, his family took a private plane. They flew their jet. It's like, fine, whatever. We don't need to know that. But Lane Kiffin wants everyone to know that to negotiate. All right. I'm trying to figure out, how could I put that out there to negotiate where I am right now? Yeah. I have to think about that one. Okay. This is something that I woke up this morning with. And it feels like it's that time of year, because the high school state championships in the state of Utah are going on this weekend. And boy, does it bring back memories. Oh my goodness. My alma mater, Springville High School, is playing the Orem High Tigers for the 5A state championship on Friday. I believe it's Friday. And I just want to give a shout out to my Red Devils, and Red Devils has always been an interesting mascot. I've always felt like it was the coolest mascot ever. Um, we loved being Red Devils. We were there was Red Devil pride. Boy, we were proud of it, and we are proud of it today. Now there are some people that aren't proud of that mascot, that nickname. They feel that it's devilish, and it promotes bad behavior, and it doesn't represent good, honest, clean living young people. And we all just roll our eyes every time that comes up, and it would come up often, and it has come up often in the town. Usually, when people move in, and it's usually a mother of the year who's trying to stir up interest and support to change the mascot. Now, there've been a lot of mascots that have changed for far less. With all the social issues of our time, but the Red Devil mascot has stayed true and proud. They've actually had votes in the city about whether they should keep the mascot or get rid of it. And supposedly, don't doubt this, the vote was the highest turnout of people for a vote on a community referendum, and the highest percentage of a win total. So the folks in Springville are just like, don't mess with our mascot and don't mess with our football team. So it's very exciting for me to see the school in the state championship. Now, I believe Springville's only been in 4, maybe 5 in its whole history, and has only won one. And of course, the one they won was back in 1985 when that was my senior year of high school. And I will never forget that day. And it's I just the irony of this for me is quite significant in the sense that it's probably one of the most memorable games I ever played in football in my life. And I played college, professional, and played in some really big games and had some really big moments. And yet that game is just etched in my brain. That memory of that game is just so clear and so meaningful. And it was really one of those real life. If you remember the movie The Hoosiers with Gene Hackman, it was kind of a small town Utah community, and get to go to the big city and play in the big stadium. And the whole city left. They shut down the town. That there was no, they closed school. Nobody was in school. No classes were held, and it was full of people. And of course, we were down, I think, 14 points early. Our star running back was injured in the game, and we were kind of, I think it's the first time we were behind in a game all year long. Hadn't lost a game, and then we got a fumble back, and then we went on and scored 31 points and ended up winning the game. But it was just a magical time. I remember walking onto the field at 10 o'clock in the morning, game time. It had snowed earlier in the week. They had removed the snow, and so the field was a little bit damp. And the sun was coming up, and so there's this mist and fog over the field. But the coolest part about all of it, well, there were a lot of cool parts about it, but the coolest part about it was going home. And we got to the north end of Springville, and most small towns in Utah have US 89 running through the town somewhere, and it's now your main street in most towns, and that's how it was in Springville. And we got on fire trucks on the north end of town, and they rode us on fire trucks through town. And we went to the high school, and we had a victory bell, and we got to ring that victory bell. And it was just the coolest thing. It was just the coolest moment in my life, and some wonderful friends, coaches, and just a community that you just cherish forever. And it was very cool. and still is today. And so that's happening on Friday. But this kind of November and this November weather and just always draws me back to that moment. So I just had to shout out to my mighty Red Devils for a moment. And but there's don't talk a lot about high school sports on our show, but there's a lot of great sports in Utah, and it just continues to get better and better and better. And some tremendous players have come out of the state of Utah in football, and in all positions, and have done very well. And it's a tribute to the coaching fraternity here in the state of Utah, and just do an excellent and amazing job. So go Red Devils, beat those Orem Tigers, beat them Tigers. Anyway, so it should be fun to watch. All right, let's get on to our college football playoff. It's gonna happen tonight, and it's kind of boring, quite frankly. And it's boring because the teams at the top really aren't they're not going to really do much, right? I mean, not a whole lot's going to happen at the top of the board. I guess there's going to come a point where Ohio State and Indiana are going to play each other, or they may not even play each other. I don't know, because they could be I haven't even looked at that side of it because they might be in the same side of the bracket, so Ohio State, I guess maybe they play each other in the Big Ten championship game. I don't know, but they're not going to move very far. They could be 1-4, 1-3. Texas A&M, of course, they're going to be 3. They still have to play Texas, and they're, of course, that whew, so we'll see what happens with Texas A&M. It would be a real Texas thing to do. Here's Texas, and it's amazing to me, quite frankly, that Texas is still even in the college football rankings. They have 3 losses, and everyone's like, well, but those losses, it's like, but when do we get past those losses? Like, I'll just tell you right now, Utah's going to have a hard time getting into the college football playoffs because of those losses. They have lost two games, and yeah, they're to team. Texas Tech's going to be 4 or 5 in the country, and they are, they're, they still beat Utah, and it is what it is. Now, if Utah just had 1 loss, it would be like, pack your bags, get all your stuff together, because we're going to the college football playoffs. It wouldn't even be a remote discussion about this at all, which is what's fascinating about BYU, because there is discussion with BYU. The folks aren't quite convinced of BYU yet. They're probably more convinced of Utah, but they have 2 losses, and it is the Big 12, and it's really hard to get past. So the team that's interesting, and it's tough, is Ole Miss, because Ole Miss hasn't played anyone. And even if Ole Miss, if they lost to Mississippi State, you go, yeah, they're out. I just think they're out, because Mississippi State is just, they're not really. It's at Mississippi State. It's a rivalry. Anything can happen kind of deal. But Mississippi State's not very good. So yeah, maybe there's a move. They don't play this week, so they're going to be right up there. And this is surely one of those situations where you just get there because you just ride the coattails of your conference, and you just don't screw up losing to bad teams. And Ole Miss is, for the most. I mean, the only loss they had was to the only good team on their schedule, and that was Georgia. Now, Oregon hasn't really played anyone this year either, and so it's so they have 1 loss. They still play USC, which is this weekend. and they also play Washington, and that's kind of a rivalry game. So there's challenges with that and whatever. So they could drop. But the problem is if Washington beats them, now Washington's another two-loss team that now becomes a part of the picture, and they could jump Utah potentially in the process. Oklahoma doesn't play anyone the rest of the way, I believe. Now they could lose. I mean, if they lost at this point, clearly, uh, they have well, they have Missouri, and they also have LSU. LSU is scary only from the standpoint of they have talent, on any given day, but highly unlikely they'll lose those games. Then you have Alabama with two losses, and they play the Iron Bowl, and that could you never know because I don't know how good Alabama is, and Notre Dame doesn't play anyone the rest of their schedule. So yeah, they play at Syracuse, or they're against Syracuse and Stanford, who have won 6 games all combined between the two teams. So don't hold your breath on that one. And then of course BYU is 11, and they have Cincinnati. Now I don't know what happens if they were to get into the conference championship game and lose. I don't know. If they lost to Cincinnati, it really throws things in a major uh, um, kerfuffle, because now they're 9-2, Utah's 9-2, ASU is 9-2. I think Houston is 9-2, and the tiebreakers get really wonky at that point. And there's a possibility that ASU ends up in the title game, which is just crazy. And so Utah's at 12. Now you go, oh, Utah's at 12, and there's 12 teams. It's like, no, there's not. It's really 10 teams if you're an at-large. So there is some possibility. I mean, there's a little bit of meat left on the bone. Alabama, Oregon could still potentially lose. Even Oklahoma. I mean, those games aren't guaranteed. You certainly could have kind of a letdown after a big win at Alabama is certainly a possibility, but it's still it's murky, it's iffy, and it's so because you have two losses, and that's just unfortunate. And you're in the Big 12, but all I know is in my time of watching and talking and examining all of this, crazier things have happened, and they always seem to happen. Like the playoff seeding just kind of gets upended by the time it's all over. It's never how it starts out, and it shifts and moves all the time as you go through the rankings into the final ranking, and so some crazy things can happen. I personally would love for Utah to make it without getting to the conference championship for a lot of reasons. One, just you got to play an extra game because you're going to play your conference championship game. You win it, I don't know that you're going to get a home seed at that point. You're probably going to be 10 still, or I don't know where you would end up at that. Maybe you jump Texas Tech in the rankings, and so, but then you've got a home playoff game potentially, and then you've got the quarterfinals, and then the semifinal. You're going to be playing a lot of football games. It's just one less game if you don't get in your conference champion. And I don't think it's a bad way to go. I just think you got to be really good to get in that large. We shall see. All right, we're going to take a break. Um, when we come back, people, I guess, are falling asleep in meetings and missing meetings, and it'll be a fun discussion to have about what happens to guys that fall asleep during team meetings in the NFL. That and so much more when the Down and Dirty returns here on ESPN 792 FM.
I'm here, boss. 10-4. Got it ready.
All righty, sports fans, welcome back. I hope you're getting down and little derby never hurt you. Roll up your sleeves. Let's go, man. We're having a good time today. So, um, oh, this football world is maddening. It's absolutely maddening, and it's why we love it so much. Really is. I mean, it's just because there's so much intrigue to it, and it just never really ends up the way that you hope a lot of times. Sometimes in a good way, and sometimes in a bad way, and it's compelling. We love it. Okay, Jalen Carter wanted to kind of set the record straight in that he wasn't like sleeping or uh, because it was reported he overslept and he did all this stuff and he missed the meeting, which was a walkthrough. And he said, "Look, I was getting treatment, and he didn't realize that the new coach had changed the practice time on him." Now, just to start with, I'm going to call BS on this. Just so we're clear, he's trying to clarify, and he's saying, "No, no, 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 no. I didn't have any issues. I didn't, I didn't oversleep because first of all, everyone knows when the meetings are. Like it's not a mystery. They probably have it posted all over the place. They probably have reminders because what happens is you go into the building every day and there's a schedule and everyone knows what the schedule is and it's not but there's also times like there's downtime, like there might be 10 minutes or 15 minutes between a scheduled meeting or walkthrough or lunch or whatever. So it's not necessarily like just boom 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 one thing to the next. There is some lag time. And there's lag time because different teams, like different like quarterbacks are going to have a different meeting, longer meeting than say maybe defensive linemen. So this everyone's kind of on. Now there's team activities or there's like the defense might have a walkthrough together or whatever, but it's not necessarily when the offense does. You're kind of they're kind of independently together. Now, if there's a team meeting, then everyone, of course, is in that meeting. Everyone knows when the meetings are. It's not a mystery. So it's like, man, I didn't know the coach changed the meeting. What's up with that? And on top of it, the athletic training staff is also aware of when the meetings are. And they're like, don't have treatment, don't allow treatment to go on during our meetings. They can do it after, they can do it before. Nothing gets in the way of a meeting. Okay, so don't give me this BS. Now, Martin asked me this question: did you ever miss a practice, or did you ever miss like anything like a meeting? Did you ever sleep? Did you? No, never ever. I don't think I was ever 10 minutes. You know, like I was there like 10 minutes before the meeting started. That was like I was always very early. It wasn't even in question ever in any moment. Are you going to miss or this meeting? Are you going to be close to not being in this meeting?
Did you strive to be the first one in the meeting room,
I
or
don't know. There were teams like getting to a game and getting in the locker room the day of the game. Yeah, that was a thing. Being the first guy on the practice field was a thing, and being the last guy to leave the practice field was also a thing. And yes, on all of those. And it was a mindset thing. It was like I'm the first one here and I'm the last one to leave. And no one's going to outwork me. No one's going to be more committed, more focused, more dedicated than I am. So yeah, that was a thing. But the meetings, no. So here, so I'm thinking about different meetings, and I'd heard this story about Lawrence Taylor and how he apparently slept through a meeting, and here's kind of what happened in that situation. So here's Lawrence Taylor talking about, or well, it's actually called Banks telling a story about Lawrence Taylor sleeping in the meetings. So now, if you play a position like Lawrence Taylor, and Lawrence Taylor also famously said, "I knew what everyone was doing. I knew what the linebackers were doing. I knew what the defensive line. I knew what the offensive guard and I knew what they were all doing." He says the only person I didn't know what was going to happen on the play was me. And he goes, I just went off of instinct within the scope of the defense. I didn't do something that would either compromise the integrity of the defense or mess up one of my teammates. But I wasn't necessarily going exactly the way it was drawn up on the chalkboard. And and you see a lot of players because maybe they don't need a lot of meeting time, because I can tell you there are times when, man, I would like to fall asleep during this meeting. And of course, I never fell asleep ever during a meeting. Now, one of the funny things that did happen well, there's several, but one was when I was with the Miami Dolphins, and of course, all the position groups sat by their coach. Quarterbacks always sat in the front of the room, and we sat by Coach Shula. And Dan Marino was like, "I'm not sitting next to him." So I sat next to Coach Shula, and then I literally sat between Dan Marino and Don Shula, like pretty much every meeting. And Coach Shula, the coaches have these little pointers because you're watching the film of practice, game, or the opponent, whatever. And so they like to point out on the film with a little arrow, what kind of drawing your attention to a coaching point. Well, all of the coaches had these little yellow arrows, So they had these little lights and they turn them on and there's this little arrow. Coach Shula had a dot, and it was a red dot, and it was a laser pointer, and he was the only coach that had it. And he had that because he wanted everyone to know that when that red dot was up on the film, you're getting it from the head coach. Like, and so you better listen, or you're like, oh shoot, I'm in trouble. I'm getting the red dot from Coach Shula. Well, Coach Shula, we'd have these meetings in the afternoons after lunch. So you imagine you go have lunch, and Coach Shula would go. He would go jog before this meeting, and he wouldn't shower, and he wore these polyester knit shirts, and of course the coaching shorts. You know, the polyester. You know, the famous 1970s coach's shirt and shorts. You know, he wore that stuff. That was all the rage back then. And I'll just tell you, he didn't smell all that great because, you know, the poly knit mixed with sweat from an older gentleman, bad combination. Coach Shula would sit in this meeting and bless his heart, he couldn't stay awake. He'd fall asleep because you're in the dark and it's very easy to fall asleep. Well, he didn't want anyone to know that he fell asleep, but I knew because I was sitting next to him and I look over and I could see his eyes closed. And out of the blue, Coach Shula would just turn on his red dot laser, point it up there, and make a coaching point. One that had already been made while he was asleep. And of course, he was asleep, didn't hear it. And all the people are looking around like, Coach Shula's lost his ever living mind. And I'm sitting there going, nah, he just fell asleep. He's just asleep. And so it's really funny. Now he put his hand on the chair rest, and then put his his chin on his hand, his elbow on the chair rest. So it looked like he's kind of studying it, but man, he was out. He was out like a light. We had another player, Mark Clayton, who would come into the meetings. And now Carl Banks brings up a really good point. And this was very consistent and very true through my entire career. When practice was over, the fun began. And every team I was on, a majority of the players are out, and they're going to all these places. Whether it's I don't know. I wasn't that type of person. I didn't go out. A lot of times I was at the facility too late, anyways, and then I'd go home, and but so these guys are out late, and so every day when guys would come in, they would tell you about their escapades from the night before, and I've heard more stories than I care to hear, and things that I can't even believe are humanly possible. And so you can only imagine you're this professional football player and you're young and you have money, and it's almost a miracle that more things don't happen that already do happen. So you're always, every once in a while some guy gets shot, and it happened recently, and every once in a while someone shows up late for a meeting or misses a meeting, and in all reality it's like uh it's like I'm surprised it doesn't happen on a daily basis, and maybe it does. And I'm sure the coaches know that there's a whole lot more that happens that you probably don't hear. But now I heard all of it, or at least a good portion of it. And what players would say is like, well, we kind of if Thursday's our cutoff, maybe Wednesday. So if we go Thursday, and then we're kind of home Friday night, Saturday night, we're okay. And so the older you get, the earlier in the week you stop going out. So like Wednesday, but they all go out. They all do it. Now Mark Clayton shows up to a meeting, walks in the door with as Carl Banks described, with his shades on, and falls asleep. Mark Clayton, same thing. In a dark meeting room, has sunglasses on, basically lazy, because we're in desks. Like if you're interested, So our meeting room where you sat was like a desk, like a classroom, and you were basically in school. So Mark Clayton goes and sits in his desk, and of course everyone has their spot where they sit. Folds his arms on the desk, lays his head down on the desk, and falls asleep. And his wide receiver coach, Larry Seipel, goes, "Dude, wake up!" Like he goes, "Look, I know this offense better than anyone in this room. I've been doing it for years. I'm tired. Wake me up when this is over. If you want to find me, just go ahead and find me. But I'm going to sleep." And that was that. And for me, the guy who's like, "I'm never missing a meeting. I'm never going to get fined. I'm never going to do. I can't believe this. How could you? I couldn't handle that." And but some guys just, hey, no big deal. And Mark Clayton, just so you know, just like Lawrence Taylor, just showed up every week and just played hard. And so maybe we make this more complicated than it actually should be. Maybe we shouldn't try as hard as we want. Now, since I've retired, I have a dream, and in the dream, I keep missing practice, and it's a weird dream, and it happens all the time. I don't know what it is, but for some reason, I can't get my stuff together. I can't get my uniform on. I run out to practice, and I'm late, and everyone's out there, and they just gone on without me, and no one even notices, and it's just a very weird thing. Okay, let's take another break. Whew, breaks. I don't
Gotta
think
do
we
weight
should break.
vision.
I don't think we should break ever. If you wanted to ask me, let me tell you something though. I can see clearly. It's the coolest thing in the world, and I couldn't before. And I've talked about this on a show before, but I'm imploring you, if you have any issues with your eyes, go check out Weight Vision. They're in Thanksgiving Point, right off the freeway, UCCU building. They are incredible. They do a marvelous job. They'll do a workup of your eyes, determine the best solution for you, and they do all types of vision correction surgery. Dr. Wade is fellowship board certified in refractive lens correction surgery. He is the best. It's the most common issue people have with their eyes. It's what I had with my eyes. The surgery is minimally invasive, and the downtime is even less. And you can see like you've never seen before, and it is beautiful. Don't wait. Don't wait. Just go do it. Waitevision.com, WAITE vision.com. More to come on the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell here on ESPN 700 92.1 FM.
All right, you'll introduce the next segment, throw it to me, and I'll introduce the game. Okay. We'll have 8 minutes and 46 minutes left of airtime. We're gonna be yes, 8 minutes and 46 seconds. I'm glad you corrected me like that. You're such a good boss. I know. We'll be back at 48, so 8 minutes. We'll be out by 56. Yep, I'm in charge. I'll send it to you. I got you. All right, we're gonna have fun. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Welcome back. Uh, the Contenders. I believe that's that name of that group. Oh, no, it's the Proclaimers. The Proclaimers, of course. The Proclaimers. Do you know what the Proclaimers remind me of, Martin?
What's that, boss?
Have you ever heard of a guy named the Outdoor Boys?
No, I have not. That's the first time I've heard of them.
Oh my goodness. It's one of the most popular YouTube sensation shows in the planet. And it's this nerdy guy who lives in Alaska, was an attorney, and just decided to make like videos about his life in Alaska. He started in Virginia, but he's originally from Alaska, moved home, and he does these crazy videos. And I think he had somewhere in the neighborhood between 14 and a half to 16 million subscribers.
Holy crap.
Yeah. And it's awesome. I love watching it. And it got so big and so ridiculous, he had to shut it down. He just says, I can't do this.
Oh, wow.
So he looks exactly like the two guys in the Proclaimers. Kind of that buzz cut with the square nerd glasses. Yeah. Yeah. Just look up the Outdoor Boys and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Anyways, apparently Martin has decided that we're going to let's play a game.
Yeah.
So Martin has a game we're going to play. I don't know what it means, but he's going to explain it to us. So go ahead.
So I got an NFL game for you today, Scott. We're gonna play pretenders or contenders. So we're gonna go through the top 7 teams that are currently in the playoff situation in both conferences. All right. All you have to do, Scott, is tell me whether this team is a pretender or contender and why. And all the fans at home can go along with this one. 877-353-0700 is the text line. So text in who you think is a pretender and contender if you agree with Scott. Scott, we're going to start with the AFC first. Number 1 seed currently in the AFC is the Denver Broncos. Are they contenders or pretenders?
Okay, so just so I understand, all the teams you're going to list out, if the playoffs started today, they would be the playoff teams.
Yes, this is only playoff teams.
Ooh, I'm going to say that Denver. I'm going to say that Denver is a contender for 2 reasons. They've won close games, so their quarterback, who's in his second year, has figured out how to win close games, and they have a really good defense. So they're absolutely a contender.
All right, New England Patriots would be the number 2 seed. They're 9-2. Are they contenders or pretenders?
I'm going to say that New England is a pretender. I just think it's a little too early. They've had the really easy schedule. I like Mike Vrabel. Drake May seems to be headed the right direction, but I think when the playoffs roll around, they're gonna fold.
All right, the team that has surprised everybody so far this year is the Indianapolis Colts, 8-2. Are they pretenders or contenders?
Bum, 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 bum. Indiana Jones, by the way, might be the very best nickname that they've given to a player in Daniel Jones, Indiana, as in Indianapolis, Indiana Jones. I love it. And I almost want to say for that reason alone that they're contenders. They're a borderline team for me.
All right.
I'm going to say pretender.
All right, Buffalo Bills, a team that should be in number 1, but has surprised everyone with a little bit of a weird record this year. 7-3, pretenders or contenders?
Well, the old Buffalo Bills are one of those teams where they've been there before, they've done that before. It might be the year that they don't have to contend with the Kansas City Chiefs to get to the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl. I'm going to say that the Buffalo Bills are contenders.
All right, let's go to Pittsburgh and the Steelers. They're leading the AFC
North. I need
North.
to tell you. Oh, because they've been there and Josh Allen. Sorry, I'm giving you a reason.
That's a good point. The Steelers, 6-4, pretenders or contenders?
Oh, this is a very, very, very easy one to say. You just look at Aaron Rodgers. I don't see him. He just looks old. He looks old and fragile and ornery. And I'm going to say they may be better. They may be more of a contender with Mason Rudolph at quarterback I think he's gonna run out of gas. And for that reason, I'm gonna say that Pittsburgh is a pretender.
All right, the second-rate LA team are the Chargers, 7-4. Pretenders or contenders?
I picked the Chargers from the beginning. Really good defense, really good Justin Herbert, and for those two reasons, I'm gonna say contender.
All right, last team in the AFC is the Jacksonville Jaguars, 6-4. Pretenders or contenders?
I think Jacksonville is a year away, but I think they're trending in the right direction. They've won some big games against good teams, games I didn't think they'd win, and they did. And I like. I'm going to say they're a pretender for now.
All right, let's move over to the NFC. The number one seed today would be the Philadelphia Eagles, the defending champs. Pretenders or contenders?
When you're the reigning champ, like that next year is brutal, and a lot of teams don't make it through that next year, and they've tried to get in their own way, and they've had controversy and conflict, and look like the foundation might be shaking, and yet here they are 8-2 and playing phenomenal defense at this point and doing enough offensively. The tush push did get shut down a few times in the game, but I still think I'm not going to rate this team based off of tush push success. They are a contender.
All right, the best team in Southern California is the LA Rams, 8-2. Pretenders or contenders?
Matthew Stafford, they've been there, done that. They look strong. They are definitely a contender for me.
All right, the Chicago Cardiac Heart Attack Bears, 7-3. Are they pretenders or contenders?
So they're like Jacksonville. They've turned the ship around, headed in the right direction. They're probably still another year away, but they're going to make some noise. They may get in the playoffs, but they are a pretender at this point.
All right, the boat is a little shaky in Tampa, 6-4. Pretenders or contenders?
Yeah, they've had some injuries and some challenges. I'm going to go with. I'm going to say they're still a contender.
All right, the Seahawks are trying to fly as far as they can. 7-3 so far in the season with the Seahawks. Contenders or pretenders?
Seattle. Sam Darnold's played very well, and then when he hasn't played well is when they've lost. So it's really kind of on Sam Darnold. I'm going to go bullish on Sam Darnold, and I'm going to say they're a contender.
All right, the Cheeseheads up north above Chicago always seem to find a way. They're 6-3-1. Are they pretenders or contenders?
They're who? I'm going to say pretender.
All right, and the final team in California above north, this is San Francisco 49ers with their two-quarterback system. Pretenders or contenders?
Brock Purdy came back and looked purdy. I think with him back, they might be a contender.
All right, that is the game today. Pretenders or contenders? Scott, we got 7 weeks left in the NFL. We'll do this again before the playoffs and try to go through it and all whatnot. Everybody, thanks for playing this game. Scott, it was a fun one.
You did good. You did good, kid. Yeah, let's see how good we are with our pretender contender. Mark our picks down, and we'll revisit this and see if we're really smart or really dumb. All right, folks, that's it for us today. We've had enough. I know. I'd like to do more. You can do more. Do more, everyone. Be better people. Sean O'Connell is next. This has been the Down and Dirty here on ESPN 792 on FM. Until then, we'll see you then.
All right, Scott, I'll just replay the show today. All right, have a good day, buddy.